Yo, what is going on, guys? Oh my god, my voice just gave out there. Hope you guys are having a great, fantastic Wednesday night. I know I am. I know these two guys are. Why? Because we have episode 4 of Loki, the Nexus event, to break down today. It's really weird. This episode seems, I know Tom Hiddleston said this is when the season really starts to pick up. And yeah, dude, this show was top tier banger. And this is easily one of the most divisive episodes, I'd say, when it comes to the MCU Disney Plus catalog shows. But you know what? Before we get into the plot details and all that great stuff, I want to ask you guys, we'll go straight to you, Deebs. What are your general opinions on this episode?
All right, guys. First of all, spoilers. If you guys haven't seen it, make sure you go see it and then come back and watch this, because we're going to be deep diving. I've got a ton of theories from this episode. By far the best episode of the season. Just incredible from start to finish. Not many things I've watched on TV or films where as soon as I'm done watching, I literally tweet at the composer, Natalie Holt, and I'm just like, wow, was that an unbelievable score? Her work, I've given her compliment after compliment for her work in this series so far. Episode 3, she did amazing. Episode 4, unbelievable. So I love that we got finally a reference to vampires, our first vampire reference in the MCU. Let's go, Blade. I love that we're going to start building up to that. I loved going back to Sylvie, Lady Loki's Asgard. We're going to deep dive into that. Mobius, talk about just an episode that was a roller coaster. It had its ups, it had its downs. There were moments where I was like, my jaw was dropped. There were moments where I got off the couch and was like, let's go! I mean, and then you had the mid-credit scene. That was unbelievable. Top to bottom, best of the season so far.
Damn. All right. What about you, Loretto? What did you think about this episode?
Couldn't have said it better myself, my friends. Holy shit. Best episode of the season. I agree. So many little details, just incredible. Like B-15 being the one to capture Loki initially, and then subsequently being the one to free him in front of the timekeepers, the fake timekeepers. Just a brilliant episode. Literally like what Dibe said. You took the words out of my mouth. Best episode ever. Roller coaster. I mean, we went up, we went down. I was emotional the entire time. It was just terrifying to see a child treated like a prisoner and walked through the same TVA process as Loki was, just heartless, cold, and great performances all around. I gotta shout out, I didn't know her name prior because I kept confusing her with Kerry Washington, so sorry to both actresses. They're both amazing and they're both beautiful, but Gugu Mbatha Raw is fantastic as Ravonna Renslayer. She really got really dynamic. She was heart to heart with Owen Wilson, and then she was heartless at the end, just as heartless as the TVA that she's so loyally defending for time always, or for all time always. Just a entertaining, amazing episode, and I was heart-wrenched. I don't know if Mobius is gone for good, but I didn't see that coming, and I know Loki's not gone, but it hurt for a split second just to see them disintegrate. It's just, you don't like to see your heroes go. I'm attached to these characters, so.
No, yeah, honestly, Loretto, Deebs, you guys both hit the nail on the head with that. And we were discussing this a little bit before we went live, and I went a little deep on it. I probably shouldn't have, but I'm going to repeat myself a little bit for the viewers and stuff. But I think what this show does really well with its twists and turns is it sort of does. It's obviously a twist at the end of every episode, but with each twist, unlike WandaVision, it always turns the plot on your head, and it kind of distracts you from where you originally thought the show was going and makes you sit in there wonder, like, oh my God, where's this story going now? Because I feel like with each episode, that the first episode I thought something was going on, didn't really say it on the show, wasn't on. And then the second episode and the third episode, when we were discussing them, we always said these plot points, or we think what's going to happen with the TVA, the time gods. What are they called again?
Timekeepers.
Oh no, I said time gods. They're not even living things at this point. But we had the timekeepers. We had all sorts of theories. And I feel like every time we get a new theory, they kind of just crumble within the next episode. And then we just get more theories. But with WandaVision, their twists kind of went down a similar path that you presumed in your head. But you could also tell where the story was eventually going to end. With Loki, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I can only imagine what they're going to do in the next episode. And I only know what's partially going to happen is because of the trailers showing Loki in the destructive New York, most likely. And I don't know if this is good. I think this is going to be in the future. Obviously, I'm going to say around 2060 or something. We see this broken New York, or possibly even sooner, because we saw in 2053 with the Roxxon cart, or the Roxxon grocery store, that was in like 2053, and they were about to get demolished by a big tsunami. So maybe some Earth disaster took New York out first, because we also see the Avengers. I just thought about it. There's no Avengers Tower technically in the main MCU timeline. 2023, there's no Avengers Tower. I think I just answered the question myself right there. Holy shit. But besides that, guys, we know we got to get into the big stuff. I'm just going to jump straight to the ending of this episode, because I thought that was obviously the most noteworthy thing, the most jaw dropping. And like I said earlier, I'm shocked with what this episode did, not because of who they killed, but because of when they killed them. You never expect someone to die, even though it's a 6-episode season, at least halfway through the season, especially when one of those episodes didn't even include them at all. And the homie's like a top billed cast member and stuff like that. And then we had, I always forget the actor's name that playing older Loki, or presumed to be older Loki, that we saw.
Richard E. Grant.
Richard E. Grant is playing older Loki, and we see that now in the post-credit scene, bro. I was not expecting that outfit, so we'll just start our way at the top and work it down the episode. I think that sounds good. But yeah, I thought that post-credit scene was bonkers hilarious, because I'm going to presume it's just a group of different Lokis. I know they all look silly, but they all have the Loki uniform. So I don't know what timeline they come from or anything like that. We'll find that out in the next episode. But I lost my shit, especially when we knew Richard E. Grant was going to be in this show and presumed to be older Loki. He looks so wacky and silly in this. It's just like, why am I shocked? They've been doing all this wacky and crazy stuff, but you also never expected this from a Loki character, especially looking at Loki and Sylvie progress through these first 4 episodes. But Deebs, what did you think about the giant Lokis ending in New York?
I didn't expect it at all. It was that there's things in this show that I did predict, and I tweeted it out. First episode, baby. I nailed. Eventually the TVA will be the antagonist of this series, but the fact that they're pruned and sent to an alternate universe truly had me thinking. And I even said it, like, I did believe that at some point this was going to lead our entrance in the X-Men into the MCU. And hear me out, guys. I'm throwing in a theory already.
Don't do what I'm not saying.
What if like every person that is pruned gets sent to like their alternate universe? Loki's went to Loki. Mobius probably went to a desert because there's no jet skiing there. What if mutants went to their own universe, and when Sylvie and Loki sabotage the sacred timeline in this next episode or the episode after that, boom, we have all the mutants flood back into the MCU, and now they're all of a sudden, just like everyone was blipped back, now we've got mutants upon mutants upon mutants in the MCU. Could that be the way Kevin Feige introduces the X-Men here in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, that's not a bad one. I'll be real with you, but I don't know if Loki feels like the show, but then I keep thinking back. I'm like, the MCU just teases everything at this point, no matter what the project. Like that, like, not to talk about like Black Widow, but for, like, I heard the post-credit scene was pretty dope, and it just leads me to think what they tease for the later MCU stuff in that. I know we know a few people have seen it, so if you guys have seen it, don't spoiler. No spoilers, please. Just putting that out there right now. But it's just adding on to my point where these like Black Widow stories connect to these multiverse of madness. Not saying that's what it connects to. Don't know. But you get the gist. These larger than life stories in a movie that is pretty grounded, or vice versa in this case with Loki. So I could see it going either way, and they can kind of create the X-Men like as a division to rile up all these mutants, and then they enlist people and shit like that. You know, when the government goes looking for people, they do the exact same thing just for yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
That would lead directly into like a new mutant registration act.
Yeah.
All these new people, you know, and they have powers. I'm telling you, man.
And
I don't know.
And the ending is like Professor X finally making the school for the gifted.
Oh.
Imagine, bro.
And I got to give a quick nod to Alligator Loki. Like this show has all the level of weird that just inject all of it into my veins. But
there's something I want to ask, but before I do that, Loretta, what do you think about this Loki stuff and Deeb's X-Men theory?
I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, and the X-Men are my favorite heroes in the Marvel universe. So, it was awesome. I almost jumped out of my seat when Richard Grant showed up, man. But you know, I almost thought for a second, like, I know they're all supposed to be versions of Loki, but for a hot second, I was like, is that Black Thor? Like, because he had like a hammer and like, like a beard. I was like, so I'm excited. I'm really interested to see. I'm interested to see where this dimension is, how many Lokis there are. Is that where we're gonna get this president campaign that we see in our background that I don't know what's going on in that picture? There's so many questions. And you're right, Dives. Like, it makes you wonder what happens when people get pruned. And seriously, like the details and the facts in this show just get my head twirling, because when they talk about branches, I think of branches on a tree. And when you prune like bushes and trees, you're cutting the leaves, but you're not killing them. So it just makes you wonder, like, where are these leaves falling when they get pruned?
For that.
Such an interesting way to phrase it, you know, guys. And can I just talk about really quick how dark this episode is before we start looking into the future?
Yeah.
This episode got dark as hell. And also, while we're talking theories, did you guys... I have an inkling of what the Nexus event was between on Lamentis before Mobius picked up Sylvie and Loki. Do you guys have an inkling on it? I kind of have a feeling.
Honestly, I tried sitting back afterwards, and it's hard to really think because they don't pay too much mind to it when you look at it in the grand scope, because they created the Nexus event pretty much with it's hard to tell, like, because so the Nexus events are created when you cause a ripple effect from a timeline that doesn't get destroyed, right? So it's just like Lamentis had to have survived if it created a Nexus event, correct? So what like, I just can't imagine what survived on that planet, because we see when they get teleported back from the TVA, which I think is the most gorgeous shot in the show so far, with the two of them just looking at each other on the rocks, and you see in the back the moon is just crashing into the planet in this nice purple aura sky. I'm like, it's, bro, you know, my guilty pleasure for cinematography. And yeah, Loretto, I know you're itching for what I said about that. So
can I shoot my shot, guys? No. I'm usually not a theory. I'm usually not a theory guy, but
let's go.
I took notes. I'm dead serious, because it hit me like a ton of bricks as I was watching it. So
yeah, you said it.
So when the credits hit, guys, the lyrics of the song that's playing said, "If the sun should tumble from the sky, if the water should suddenly run dry, if you love me, if you really love me, let it happen." And I just couldn't help but wrap around my head around the fact that the second Sylvie touched Loki's arm is when the branch shot up on their grid. And then I felt like right when Loki got stabbed, he grabbed her in a way that was like, I have to tell you something. And it just, what if the Nexus event is just being caused by the fact that he fell in love with another version of himself?
100%.
And that is what's causing this rift in time, because you're falling in love with yourself, but it's from like another dimension or galaxy, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, like that's just crazy. That's the vibe I got. And especially
100,
the song that plays at the credits is just like, wow, like
100% my guess is that, you know, they definitely have feelings for each other. I just love that whole dynamic between Sylvie and Loki. And we got to give so much credit to Tom Hiddleston, who acted his ass off in this episode.
Yes, he did.
There are so many scenes in this episode where you just his eyes are tearing up, and you just feel so bad. Like he finally got Mobius to like team up with him, and bam, Mobius is gone. You know, and you could really feel it like through Tom Hiddleston's acting that like he was really upset. You could see, you know, Tom Hiddleston's Loki like wanting to say "I love you" to Sylvie for the first time, maybe in his life.
Wait, so you guys think he was grabbing him to tell her something? I thought he was grabbing her to kiss her.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, well, that's
no, I know it's like the same thing, but I feel like I don't know.
No, I felt that
too.
too.
I'm looking too into it. Because with me, I feel like when you say something and showing something is always different. So I feel like this would be a show that would actually move forward on that saying.
I think it's as simple as, you know, what have we heard again and again in this show is that Lokis are meant to be alone. Lokis are meant to be alone. They're meant to, you know, always survive. But that's what I got. Like that spark that Sylvie and Loki have feelings for each other, that this could actually blossom and become something. Maybe they have a daughter or a son or something along those lines. That was the Nexus event. And I just love, because we heard that, like, Loki saying, he literally said in this episode, I'm scared of being alone. So maybe it's not being alone. Maybe the theme of Loki is redemption and you know, finding his way. So who knows? I think that was the Nexus event. Was
real quick, Rye, sorry, but speaking to your point, Dibes, Loki is the boy who cried wolf. Because remember when he's pleading his case to Mobius, and he acted his ass off in that scene, but Mobius was just like, I don't believe you. You know, because like everyone thinks Loki's lying. So even when he is telling the truth, like it's like how I can't imagine how that feels when nobody believes you and you're like a pathological liar practically, but you are telling the truth. And it's like, how do people know? You know, it's just what a moment.
I don't know. The only thing that's like kind of deterring me from that is I feel like they had almost a similar moment earlier in the episode, like when I was saying before they got saved by the TVA and kind of accepting their fate that they thought they were going to die there. And they kind of had this moment where they're holding hands and making this really strong eye connection. But maybe that I'm trying to remember what part of the episode they showed the Nexus event. Was it right after that, or was it after he disappeared?
So I rewatched it. The second she touches his arm, then they're like, "Oh, we got something," and the branch started shooting up the grid.
So it was
like
the second one.
She touched his arm.
Okay.
And then they started looking into each other's eyes, like.
Okay, so yeah, it was that. Fuck. I was thinking you were talking about when Loki went up to fucking kiss her at the end. That's what I thought we were talking about this whole time. I am so far behind you guys.
No, you're
I am
good,
so
man.
sorry, but you know what? I still understood it, so it's all good. I'm fried right now, but yeah, dude. I think that is the strongest scene in the show so far. Like when they make that eye connection, like you knew they weren't gonna die. You're like, oh man, we still got 3 episodes, like because this is in the beginning, and you're just like, there's no way they're gonna die. But dude, you know it's a good actor and good actress when they can sell they're gonna die, and you know they're not gonna die. That eye connection is great, and slowly. Lady Loki, Sylvie is starting to become like my MCU crush now. I'll say it right here that she's starting to become my MCU crush.
Over Sharon Carter?
Dude, the short hair does it for me, dude. I like the short hair.
She is charming.
She's fucking badass too, dude.
I love her line on Asgard when she said like it was something along the lines like until eventually I figured out where to hide and where I grew up was like on the ends of 1,000 worlds. Something along that line. Like, could you imagine like the life that Sylvie had growing up as a kid, like watching everyone die all around her over and over and over again as worlds end over and over and over again. Like she could never ever form a long-term bond with anybody. She was always doomed. You know, she was always on the run. And that's why she always just trusted herself. So like there's like little keys, like subplots in the show that I absolutely love. And you know, Sylvie, Loki, you know, it just shows their dynamic on screen is terrific.
It's weird how those two characters are so broken and they've gone through hell, and it's so weird to think that strangely they seem meant for each other.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you guys. So, like you said, the episode opens up in Asgard, and we see a young Sylvie, presumably just like the way Loki was living his life. I got to ask a question before I continue this. What were the blue villains that Loki is a part of, like his bloodline he comes from?
Frost
from
Giant.
Frost Giant, right? So Loki is a Frost Giant, or Frost Giant baby, Frost Giant, whatever you want to consider him, right? What is Lady Loki's or Sylvie's bloodline within her own timeline? Is she a Loki that's just born from the Asgard heritage, or is she an orphan / adopted orphan like Loki was, that was taken in by his father?
I don't know the answer to that, but I do think. Go ahead.
She mentioned it on the train. She admitted it because I was rewatching the episode. She admitted it to Loki that she was also adopted and she didn't know her mother that well.
Okay. So it makes my question go a little deeper then. Do you think she has the same heritage as Loki, or do you think they do it a different way? Or get her from a different species, let's just say, or a different type of Frost Giant area or whatever. Not like Loki.
That I'm not sure about, but I do think I think the show, correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be totally wrong, but I think we got our answer that they took her, they considered her a variant because she was a female Loki. Is that the vibe you guys got? Because
that's what she said. She was like, they came to claim me because I was born the goddess of mischief.
Yeah, so
she said goddess.
And how ridiculous emotionally was that scene when Renslayer was like, I don't remember why we took you. Like, I don't remember.
Damn,
you're not important enough to remember. Like, gut wrenching. Absolutely.
And you know damn well she remembers because that was the time she fucked up.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because it kind of, like we said earlier, it mirrors Loki and Mobius's first interaction. And the only difference is, what if Loki got Ravonna instead of Mobius? Ravonna is much more by the books, stern-hardened. Do you think Loki could have turned out Sylvie did when she was younger if he didn't get Mobius, who's more lighthearted, more caring and taking in for? So that really makes you question how much more of a difference Mobius has already made on Loki's outcome in life, or progress throughout the show, because Ravonna is really, really fucking like stone cold in that beginning. She pretty much just pushes the kid. She's like, go wherever. Like, if you're a variant, you're a piece of garbage. That's the way she treats you. But Mobius treats you like an actual person and tries to help you. So I guess we see both sides of the story. If we got someone who's more like Ravonna by the books compared to someone who's actually really does care about what they do and the people they bring in. And Deebs, I see you're getting ready. Do you have like a theory? Because I know you do when you go like that. So go ahead, man.
Well, I predicted that the timekeepers were fake a long time ago. I think it's pretty much locked in that Ravonna is the girlfriend or mistress or something of Kang the Conqueror. I think that is
She's got to be.
I think that is an absolute lock that's going to get revealed. Probably not this season. I think the TVA, Ravonna, like, I don't think we're going to get full-blown Kang the Conqueror. Maybe like a Thanos post-credit scene after, of course, Mobius riding a jet ski, being happy. That needs to be the first post-credit scene. But the second post-credit scene can be like Thanos in the Avengers where he looks back, and it's Kang the Conqueror, Jonathan Majors. That would be balls to the wall, amazing.
Or he could just appear in this episode and subvert our expectations.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't leave it against the show to do it in the next episode. Honestly, at this point, they've just thrown everything at us, and this is kind of a theory I have. It's hard to back it up because I'm trying to remember the color of the beamers every time they beam someone. Right, I really have to watch the first 4 episodes that we've gotten so far to like really go a little bit deeper on this theory, but my theory so far is, so the beamers only work on variants, right? That's the knowledge we've gotten from the TVA, Ravonna, Mobius, everybody. It turns out that when you electrocuted them or beamed them, you assume they died. But in this episode, we see Mobius get beamed. We presumed he died. But Loki get beamed. He goes to New York in some other timeline or a different year. So it really makes you think, when they use the beamers, do you think it has like a switch option to send them to jail, to wherever they might be able to do, like with Loki, send them to a specific location or something like that? And because I can't imagine what they do if they're not actually killing them, unless there's also a kill switch. So there's one for killing, one for teleporting, and then one for putting them in jail. That's a secret prison, because it seems like everyone that works at the TVA that isn't Ravonna seems to believe that everyone gets beamed and dies. You know what I'm saying? So
but what I'm also curious, if that's the case, why didn't Ravonna kill Loki? Which is that's what really fucks me up right now.
Exactly. That's the whole. It's so weird, dude. Like, I want them to. That's the biggest question I have going forward, other than who the actual TVA is, like who's behind it. Because, like you said, Deebs, I think Ravonna is like the mistress or like head goddess of that area in retrospect, because she has the high authoritative power right below the TVA. So it seems like a good position for someone to keep a secret at. You know what I mean? No one can question them because they are that higher authority. And it seems like Ravonna has been that higher authority for as long as anyone can remember there. But I just want to say, I'm really impressed that they already revealed that everyone in the TVA is a variant.
Yes.
Like, I was not expecting this until at least the next episode. And I think the way Owen Wilson, Mobius, played this off was per fucking ecto, if you know what I mean. Because he doesn't believe Loki, but he keeps thinking about that damn jet ski. He's like, I want that motherfucking jet ski. And honestly, that's really what I hope he did. I hope he teleported on a jet ski in the ocean after he got beamed. But you know what, Ravonna, she cold-hearted. She ain't like that. So I want to get some of your opinions. What did you guys think about how they revealed the TVA being all variants, and how do you think this is going to affect the show going forward? Let's just go straight to you, Deebs.
This was one of my low-key favorite, pun intended, moments of this episode was my girl B15. I love how they built her up. Just terrific acting, by the way. But her flipping, based on what scared Renslayer, was awesome. Like, I loved how you just saw that pure emotion with her when you just saw her go to that apocalypse. I think it was that hurricane apocalypse. And she said, show me. And she said, like, I look happy. Like, that was such an emotional, beautiful moment that sold it for me. That was just an amazing moment. I just can't imagine like being in that being in her shoes. Could you imagine like someone just takes me away from Eva, my daughter, and you go just relive all of those amazing memories at once? Like, I felt that, and that just is a credit to the directing and Natalie Holt's amazing score. But I like how, like you said, like the pacing of this episode was terrific. Unlike kind of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I loved, they kind of just like halted. Like, it just kind of like went, screech. We're gonna like just take a break here. I love how this show is, at least the last two episodes are really like getting to the nitty gritty of what the story is.
Yeah, and I think that really leads to, we see in the next episode, it's kind of that Loki army being built up. And then I think our background is going to be like the big fight of the season finale for the episode, where they kind of teleport people from different timelines to help them fight the TVA or whoever is the actual head of the TVA. But Lo, what did you think about Owen Wilson's Mobius's whole TVA revealing and how he reacted, and what are your thoughts about it going forward?
No, it was beautiful. Owen Wilson, like I said, before we even started these reviews, like, he's one of my favorite actors, and he's just great in this series. But real quick, I want to shout out to Wunmi Mosaku, who plays B-15 Dives. They didn't even do a flashback for that scene. You just look at her face, and she wears it on her face. So brilliant. But in terms of Owen Wilson, I thought the way that he found out was very organic, and I also felt like up until Loki got stabbed through the chest, I thought we were gonna have like a TVA civil war, because B-15 turned, Mobius turned, and it's like, oh shoot, like I felt like they're gonna start gathering other variants within the TVA to like to do battle, but Loki got Scotty beamed wherever the hell he went, right? So
Yeah.
I thought Owen Wilson's great, and I think the way that they handled the mystery of the TVA was really well done. I didn't mind them finding out their variants this close in, because I feel like 5 and 6 are going to be a whirlwind of events no matter what happens. So I think this was kind of just prepping us for the end. So
No, yeah. And I like how in the last episode they actually technically told us how or what Sylvie can do to the TVA agents. And we see that with C20, because when we open up in episode 3, we see them sitting at a restaurant together, and you're sitting there scratching your head. You're like, what is this? And then we find out within this episode, Lady Loki Sylvie doesn't make you see things. She makes you see what you've already lived. She doesn't make you see anything new or something that you haven't lived through, a place you haven't been to. So everywhere we see, so with C20, that entire area is somewhere that she's from. The actual person that is C20. We don't know her name yet. I think there's going to be not a real reveal for her because she's dead, but depending on what happens with B-15, I think we'll get a little bit deeper into her story, explaining how the TVA kind of picked these people out of time to make them all variants, which is a nice twist. But I really do have to ask you guys. I do. What do you think Sylvie is going to do now that she thinks Loki is dead? And do you think they're going to focus on Sylvie the next episode, or are they going to do a Loki army exclusive episode? And then episode 6 is when Loki and Lady Loki, Sylvie, come back together and meet up. Deebs, I'll go straight to you, my man.
Well, like I kept thinking about 2 episodes ago when Sylvie dropped all those bombs on all those different realities. We haven't even touched on that yet. Like, what happened to that? Does anybody know? Like that, it kind of just happened, and nothing has resulted from that. So.
They actually did say a line in the beginning. I don't know. I don't remember what it was word for word, but they said we got all them sorted out as if they fixed them, and then that's why when Loki and Loki touch themselves, touches each other.
That song came to my head. I touch myself.
I don't know where this is going. Like, this is for the first episode. There's a long laundry list of ways Sylvie can go moving forward. I do think Loki has left his mark on Sylvie, so I do think that there could be a way that she asks Ravonna, like, how do I, where is Loki dead, or how do I rescue him? Because that's really what this is going to be about now. At least episode 5 will be, the Lokis banding together and trying to escape that prison planet. And I can't remember, but isn't there a prison planet in Marvel, like where like Dr. Doom was sent or something?
Yeah, it's I'm pretty sure it's a prison on the moon.
Is it?
From my memory. Yeah, and it's like a supermax prison for supervillains specifically. But before we continue, I have a really good question that came in. I have a question. Nexus events can happen naturally. Is it necessary that you time travel to be a variant? So yes, you do have to time travel or not be within that timeline originally, or even time itself without that being your destiny. For example, Loki brought up, I think it was in episode 2, why didn't Captain America or the Avengers get sent to be captured by the TVA if they were time traveling and taking the stones from all these different timelines? And they explained because that was their destiny. They were supposed to do that all along. And Loki was never supposed to grab the Tesseract when they went back in time and did that. And that's what causes a variant, a time discrepancy, I guess you can call them. Someone who's not supposed to be there who doesn't align with their entire life, because you also got to remember the TVA knows exactly what happens to everybody from the point they're born to the day they die. So if something doesn't, yeah, it's fucking crazy, dude.
I'm actually leaning the opposite direction.
What?
I think that this is all run by Kang. I think that these Nexus events could happen, but it's much more controlled, and I like there's maybe something in Sylvie's like future that maybe she rose up with Loki to take down Kang, and that was the reason why they wanted to take her out. So I think there's a little bit more in play here from the team.
Speaking to the second question, I don't think it's necessary to time travel though, because when Loki uses the Tesseract, he ends up in the desert. He doesn't go anywhere else.
Yeah, but we never know what time it is or where it is.
I assumed it was because it said Mongolia. I just assumed he went from New York to Mongolia in that same day.
Well, I guess it's not the time travel itself. It's you not being in the timeline you're supposed to because of a different event that happened. So let's say the 2012 Loki was supposed to go and die by Thanos in Infinity War, right? But because the way the Avengers came back, that never originally happened. So it never gave the original Loki that died in Infinity War the opportunity that the Loki we see now got, because that never happened in the original time. It's kind of confusing, but when you like get a firm grip on it, it's kind of a little bit more clear. But I got a crazy theory for you guys, right? It's not crazy, but it's just more of a regular theory. I'm kind of hyping it up a little too much. But so we are told that once a Nexus event is created, we have the main timeline, the timeline that flows properly, and anything that branches off that another timeline is considered a Nexus event, something that's not supposed to happen and branching off into a different path of originality, I guess you can call it. And we're told that they're bad things, and if enough of them come to be, the entire multiverse collapses. That's what we're told. I don't think that's true. I think we can have as many multiverses as we want, but I think the more multiverses we have or more timelines, the weaker the main person, let's just say Kang, the weaker Kang gets. So I think they try to keep the Nexus events in place and prevent them from happening just so Kang doesn't lose power and so he can reign as the superior conqueror. So I want to get some thoughts and opinions on that theory, Deebs.
100%. That makes a lot of sense. I think Kang is, that the puppeteer. He's pulling all the strings in the background. That makes a lot of sense for me.
What about you, Loretto?
No, I agree, but also there's a lot of breadcrumbs that was left to us in the very beginning. Even I was rewatching the first 2 episodes. And when Tara Strong does the cute little cartoon, this is the TVA, welcome. In the beginning, there was a multiversal war, and then they decide, so I feel like they're definitely leaving details out of that. And I think there's so much more to that than what appears. And I honestly feel like I'm actually wondering, what if it's not Kang though?
Yeah, it's possible.
And then I don't know who or where it could be, but I feel like there's slight allusions to Multiverse of Madness, or maybe that was just a one-liner in that sequence. But she says something along the lines of, when enough of the Nexus events happen and they're not controlled, the multiverse goes into a state of madness. She literally said the Doctor Strange title, and I just thought, it just made me think, what if we're on the wrong path and this isn't even Kang, this is somebody else that we will see later.
So what about this, Lou? You reminded me of the TVA clock, I'm going to call her. I think it was Minute Woman or something
Miss Minutes or something.
Miss Minutes. Yeah. So get this. I don't know who the higher TVA person is who's pulling the strings, but what if Miss Minutes is that person watching from the inside? Because we know from earlier in the season, the actress or the voice actress for that role said that Miss Minutes has a bigger role than initially seen or we've seen within these first 4 episodes. So what if it's revealed that even though Ravonna is the mistress or the second head up to them, they still keep a closer eye and they try to keep people in the right track by telling them exactly what they want them to hear. You know what I mean?
Miss Minutes is Agatha. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just,
all along.
It's all on.
Not,
I'm just kidding.
not Miss Minutes is Mephisto. Get it right.
No. God damn it.
So I
You
want
get-
to get some opinions on the Miss Minutes theory, though. If you guys have anything to add on to that or not.
That
I
sounds
love it.
awesome.
I love it. But you're right, Ryan. Like the more like I think back to all of our Falcon and the Winter Soldier reviews, I think back to all of our WandaVision reviews. The more we think about this, the less likely any of this is actually going to happen. I just remember the Mephisto bullshit. I remember maybe the Fantastic Four get revealed. Maybe it's that astronaut. Who knows? Like, at the end of the day, it's probably like, it's not going to happen.
Dives, I had to pump your brakes because you were so sure. It's Mephisto. It is Mephisto. And it's like you're doing the same thing with Kang. And I'm like, what if it's not?
I love it. Like we had this comment from Gabe. Like I'm trying to go back. Like if our theories don't work out, does it change my perspective on the show? Not at all. Not at all. Like I'm just here for the ride. And I like bouncing theories off a wall, like that's literally my favorite part about these shows. In fact, like now that we are like literally over the halfway mark of Loki, I really hope we get a second season because this can't end. Like this is just so much fun.
So I'm glad you mentioned like a second season because I can definitely see the show getting a second season. I think they're gonna wait to see how this show does in total before they make like a good decision on if they continue Loki's story in a second season, or depending on what happens at the end of the season, maybe it teases he reunites with Thor at some point in Thor Love and Thunder, possibly, because I was talking to Amanda about this earlier, and apparently there's some theories going around on the internet about that. So maybe he goes into Thor Love and Thunder. Maybe it might be a cameo or a shorter thing, not like a big juicy role, more something along the lines he did in Infinity War, just on the beginning scene, like a firm 8 minutes in this movie that explains what happens to him at the end of this season, builds him up for like a reunion. I was gonna say reunition, I don't know why, but a reunion with Thor, and then whatever happens in Thor Love and Thunder, he gets pulled from that or whatever, and then that leads into a second season, depending if the season does well enough. So maybe if he just goes into the first movie or Thor Love and Thunder and they decide not to go with the second season, maybe they keep breadcrumbing him throughout the Thor movies and Lady Loki. But I do definitely see this show getting a second season because from what I've been hearing, the show has been getting record numbers for the Disney Plus TV originals, which I think is fucking great. But does anyone have any more theories?
Well, I just want to back off of what you said, Ryan. Like, you look at Loki and Thor, and they're like, their whole dynamic between the first phase and phase 2 and phase 3, like, it would be a crime to have this entire show of self-discovery, this journey of self-discovery and finding out what Loki is all about, for him not to have that money scene with Thor in a future film. Like that's going to happen. This is all building towards that, right?
Yeah, it's got to. I mean, I just from a curious standpoint of knowing how Loki would react seeing Thor for the first time, and in his timeline, it's right after the Avengers for him, but for our Thor, he's lost so much at this point that Loki hasn't lost, that still exists for him at that point. He's never lost all those people, and he's only seen it through a screen. He watched himself die. So I'm really curious to know what type of effect that would have on their relationship. Sprinkling in that he's the 2012 Loki and only knowing what happens to him and seeing it, but not actually having it happen to him, just him knowing what happens and having to deal with that and see how it changes their relationship differently, because we see how their relationship changes from 2012 to Infinity War. They actually go from enemies to brothers. Loki sacrifices himself for Thor pretty much. I mean, definitely wasn't the smartest move in the world, but he did sacrifice himself. So I'm just curious from that standpoint how their relationship would be moving forward. And then maybe that could be a season 2 plot point is he wants to rebuild that. So he finds a way to get to Thor, depending on how this show and that movie both ends, because that'll be a while at this point. But Loretto, do you have any thoughts on that? Any more theory? Yeah, go ahead, Deeps.
What if Sylvie turns and becomes like Chaos Loki? Maybe she has like this grand scheme of taking over Kang and controlling the TVA. And what if like it is up to Loki to get Thor's help to fight against the love of his life? That would be a really cool like element there. Actually, Loki actually needs his brother's help because it's always been Thor making all the effort to help him and redirect him, get him back home. What if it was the other way around? That'd be really fun.
Yeah, it's just crazy how many things we can just fucking. We're Nexus events, bro. We're naming so many different timelines of things that can happen. Just like, damn, bro, fucking take me at this point. TVA or fake TVA. But dude, I gotta admit, I was fucking shocked when they beheaded the TVA guy in the middle. And I'm just like, that's when it really hit me. Like, I knew they wouldn't be like the higher ups, especially once they showed them at that point. I'm like, there's no way these are the guys at this point. And it only furthered more when Loki chopped his head off, the one in the middle. And bro, I was like, what the fuck? Where is this show going? And I gotta say, what did you guys think about the reveal of them being mechanical beings on top of Ravonna seeming like she knew that already? Like we said before, she could be like the second head. She could be the person before the mini boss, before the boss. You know what I mean? We'll go straight to you, Deebs, because I know you're excited to talk about this one.
Oh man, I called it. I knew it. As soon as I saw their head rolling on the ground, I was like, I caught it! I knew it, motherfucker! And that was my reaction. It was awesome. I everything that like I'm thinking about in this show makes me like step back and think, how much in control is the TVA? How much is a pure lie? How much is the truth? Like that's where I'm at. That's where I'm like thinking. And the after that scene, I kept waiting for Kang like to be behind like the Wizard of Oz, like behind this like screen, like, and Kang strolls out and is like, "Oh hi!" Like now, but it didn't happen. But anyway, that I was excited because I called it. So, and that was like, what's that?
No, I was just gonna say you made something click in my head, but finish.
Yeah, it was total Wizard of Oz vibes, total Last Jedi vibes. I don't know if you guys got that either. When B-15 came out and threw the sword, and it was just team up fighting. It was just an epic moment, man. Just top-notch Marvel content, not just for TV, but the best of the best.
You really made something click in my head, Deebs. And I don't know if I'm thinking too much into this or it's really just something general that they'll reveal that's not as big as I'm about to make it seem. But who is this higher up person, first of all? Because they must have some sort of fucking massive amount of power, because nothing works in the TVA. Powers, Infinity Stones, nothing. So what are they doing? They must be super strong to make those things not work, to make nothing work in anyone's favor. Loki's magic's gone. The Infinity Stones don't work. No one's magic works. Only the gadgets the TVA have that's more than likely created from the TVA heads, whoever that may be at this point. So do you guys think that the head TVA agent or the head TVA person pulling on all the strings is so strong that they can just disable powers from anything in the multiverse time?
I'm on both sides. Leo, I agree. It's more than likely Kang. Ravonna is her love interest. On the other end, like I totally have the vibes that like they're not in control. They're not in this all power, company, whatever they are, as they make everyone else believe. So I'm on both spectrums. I'm excited to see what we see here moving forward, but I don't know. I don't know.
And I know, I don't remember. It might have been the showrunner or writer, because I forgot about this. The writer of Loki is writing Multiverse of Madness, by the way, is one of the writers of Multiverse of Madness.
That is cool.
This show has also been confirmed to connect pretty much to a lot of shows. So we have to think about how this connects into the Multiverse of Madness, because what the fuck, bro? Like, do you think the TVA, oh my God, it just hit me. So what if the ending of this show has the TVA falling, creating what we saw with the time bombs in episode 2, a bunch of Nexus events, and that's what is the main problem of Multiverse of Madness, and they're all leaking into the main timeline stream that we have, and so Doctor Strange is trying to fix those problems.
No question.
Dude, it fucking just clicked into my head. Like, no fucking way. I didn't think about this earlier.
It's just going to be pure chaos on Earth. All the variants coming back. It's just going to be pure chaos. So I do firmly believe like that's where we're getting Fantastic Four. That's how we're getting X-Men. This is definitely our first seeds here with all this, the Kevin Feige mutant plant.
Yeah, this is where the seeds really start coming in and stuff like that. But guys, do we have any more anything to say? Anything we forgot about here that you wanted to touch on maybe before we start wrapping it up?
I want to speak to Ryan's comment right here, because when Ravonna was explaining to Mobius
I said the same thing. He's
C20 died. He said, "How?"
Yeah,
so
he'd
pretty
be
close.
Like, wow.
It was pretty close.
We got to see Lady Sif come back.
That was cool.
I miss Jamie Alexander. They did her dirty. I'm glad to see her.
I mean, she's coming back in Thor 4, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they confirmed her for Thor 4. So I was confused at first because I thought they were teasing that. I'm like, wait a second, bro. Is Lady Sif being in this and then going off? And then they're like, nah, it's just like a time trap or whatever, where she comes in and just beats Loki. Like, Loki, it seems like she's going down the same path. Why don't you just like move to the other end of the room or something? It seems like she's set in the same progress. Like, you fuck her over. But yeah, let's get up to some wrap ups and final scores for this episode. Deebs, I know you said this was your favorite episode, so let us off, man.
I'm not like AJ. I do not like to give 10s. Like 10s are like I stay away from that wholeheartedly. But this is right up there, man. This was better than anything in Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was probably top 2, 3 with WandaVision. That being said, my number one was, I think, last week. I think I gave it a 9.5 or something. I could be wrong. I'm going to go a 9.7 this week. Ooh. This was just an amazing display of pacing, writing, character moments, Tom Hiddleston's acting, the reveals. It was just top to bottom. The score by Natalie Holt, which was just a standout. The visual effects when the planet's like crashing down and you have Sylvie and Loki like embracing. There's just so many epic moments. 9.7.
Yep. What about you, Loretto? What are your final thoughts and your final grade for this episode?
In honor of our favorite co-host who isn't here, 11 out of 10, 10,000 out of 10, 10, 10, 10. All he does is give 10s. And for once, I agree. Love you, AJ. But I agree. Like, he's loved every episode so far. And I also have loved this series. But this is like the best episode of the season. Just so emotionally powerful. I mean, I was struck the second they captured young Sylvie. It's a hard visual to see a kid in handcuffs, you know. That's just wrong in so many ways. And the emotional weight that they all carry, especially Loki, like I said, like getting to a point to where no one can trust you, no one believes you. Like, he just wore it on his face when he was pleading to Mobius, like, listen to me, you don't understand, the TVA is not what you think they are. And just an excellent episode, especially like you said, Dibes, when B-15 threw that sword in the air. I was like, let's go, let's go. And then you see Loki and Sylvie back to back. It was just
awesome.
Excellent action. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, like when I saw Richard E. Grant in the classic like 1960s Loki costume with the elongated ass horns, I was like, this is fucking greatness. Like, what a time to be into this, to be a Marvel fan, to be a comic book fan. This is just awesome. This is top tier MCU storytelling for me. Best show of the year. Better than WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier, in my opinion. And if we put this in with the films, like, this is up there for me in terms of what they're doing. Like, every detail, every shot. And like you said, Dives, Natalie Holt's score is incredible. I love it.
Honestly, absolutely agree with you guys. And fun fact, Richard E. Grant is casted as classic Loki. So make that as you will, Loretto. But honestly, guys, you wrapped it up perfectly in a nice bow for me, and now I'm serving it to our guests. I gotta agree with you guys though, between the acting, the cinematography, like I said, the shot of them holding hands, looking at each other as you see the beautiful, well, not the beautiful moon falling, but the gorgeous silhouette of everything in the background falling, crashing. And I always love those scenes, which is why I actually like Rogue One, kind of. On a little bit, is because you have the whole crashing scene. They're sitting there, they're looking at each other, and just in the background, you know it's coming as you see the giant cloud about to hit them. And like I said, this show did something that, you know, it's good acting if they can do it. They made you feel like they were going to die when you knew they weren't going to die. So kudos to them. This had the most involved story. It kept my attention the most. It always made me on my toes, like, what's gonna happen? No, Mobius, fucking listen to him. Actually, like, bro, we know he fucked you over like 5 times this season, and he's also fucked people over like 100 times in general, but he's not fucking you over now. He wants you to be on your jet ski. And that's also a thing. Maybe their dreams is just them in their lives before they were abducted to be variants for the TVA or what, TVA agents or whatever. I'm going to give this episode a 9.5, and you guys might disagree with me on this. The thing that bothered me a little bit, if I had to like say a negative on it, is I didn't think the fight scene with Loki and Lady Loki, Sylvie, at the end, I didn't think the editing was that good, because every time they made contact with someone, they'd cut away, and you never got that fluent punch or kick on my side, at least. So it made it a little bit jarring. But that's like only my criticism. It's like a 2.5-minute scene out of a fucking 58-minute long episode. But as per usual, thank you. Wait, Deebs, you want to say something?
Did B-15 make it out alive in that sequence? Because
she got knocked out. I'm pretty sure. I don't think she died, but I'm pretty sure she got knocked out.
Right, I don't remember.
Yeah. I don't think they killed her. I think she's alive.
Thank God.
I definitely think there's a redemption arc still coming for her. But without a doubt, guys, thank you so much for chilling with us, talking Loki as per usual on Wednesday nights now, because Disney decided to change it. But you know what I got to say? Thank you so much for coming, hanging out, discussing spoilers and all that great stuff with all of us beautiful geeks at the Suit Up Geeks. And you know what, guys? Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And yes, always see what we're up to next. See you guys on the next one. Peace.